If anybody's listening so far, I am getting everything set up. So when Justin and Christina are ready, we're anticipating going long this week. A lot of stuff to discuss. So, yeah, quietness for a second. You're listening to this on the actual live time. Anybody that's in the room that pops in, hi. We're not going to be actively staring at the chat field, but I will be checking in every couple minutes. Netbug, you probably have a couple minutes, maybe. Just rushing to watch it before we get to talking about it. Yeah, for the first 15 minutes we might be well, you probably want to listen. I'm sure you know what happens regardless, right? Oh, what up, Paul? Did you watch 24, Paul? Once again, if you are listening to this after it's been recorded on YouTube, you probably want to skip forward through all this. Yeah. There's no editing on the YouTube. What's up, Justin? Christina. We're already live.
We're live. We're doing it live.
Live.
So say hello to the adoring fans.
Hello, adoring fans.
Is anybody signed on? Is anybody
we have a couple.
out there
We have a
in the
couple
live
people.
Land?
We have 4 listeners right now so far.
Oh, wow.
That's a pretty good number.
4 is a really good number. It's an even number. All right, I'm gonna put something in our chat field. Don't read it yet, Christina, because it's a really in-depth review we got, and you're gonna read it, Christina. But I want you to read it like out loud as you read along. So it's new for you.
Okay, I gotta see if I can. Skype updated their app and it's kind of confusing. So let me see if I can make sure I find my
the new
chat
Skype
field.
app sucks.
Yeah, I'm so confused.
It's
I'm
so
like,
bad.
what?
Yeah.
So I shouldn't have updated. Dang, update.
Guys, I am so excited to talk to you about these episodes. I can't even freaking contain myself. So I'm ready to get into it. If you guys are ready to get into it. Oh wait, check to see if you can the chat field so we don't stumble once.
I mean, I can see it. Worst case scenario.
Yeah, I got it, but then I couldn't figure out how to get back to the phone, and I had muted you guys while I was looking for it. Problems
This is a
all
long
solved.
review. Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
don't
gonna
read it
say.
yet. Don't read
I'm
it.
not
Don't read
reading
it.
it.
I
It's just long.
I just saw the title.
All right.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, so we have watched 112 episodes of 20.
Cool.
Welcome to the Legacy of 24. I'm Dylan Shuck, and I have seen every episode of 24.
And I'm Justin Moran, and I've seen 112 episodes, 24.
And I'm Christina Vandersize. I've also seen 112 episodes of 24.
In this podcast, we're discussing episodes 14, 15, and 16 of the 5th season of Fox's original show, 24.
In this podcast, we're discussing all events up to these 2-3 episodes. That's about events from any future episodes.
All episodes of 24 available on Amazon Prime, and we encourage you to watch along.
Always a professional, Justin. Always a professional.
I just sometimes forget, and I don't know.
No, not sometimes.
Yeah, and then the one
every
time,
time you
the
forget.
one time we do 3,
Yeah,
he gets confused. And if we do 1, he gets confused.
I don't know. I
And
don't
if he
feel
goes
bad.
too fast-
Honestly, I get the point. I get the message across. That's the point.
Yeah, so when you get messages across, sometimes you're going to use some services to get messages across. Sometimes those use social
Good.
media, right?
Nice segue. Not bad.
I don't
Probably
know.
the best he's done.
Now,
I don't
sometimes you struggle when you're trying to get the messages across, and
Not me. Not ever.
But if you are struggling, you can go to CoinCrack. Go to watchtalk.com/CoinCrack to boost your social media presence. Also, I skipped the Patreon supporters because I was like, too easy. I got to segue right now. But shout out to our Patreon supporters. If you want to be a supporter of the show, you can go to patreon.com/thewatchandtalk. Big shout out to our premium supporters, Shakita, June, Endless, Mike, and Kaka. If you're also a supporter of the show, we do get these episodes out early sometimes, and I will forward you them along if you're a Patreon supporter. So all you have to do is donate $1 a month, and you will become a Patreon supporter. And then just email us at legacy24@gmail.com and let us know that you're watching it for this show, and we'll forward them along. Yeah. And big shout out to Ninth Link Designers, where you listen to your business needs and create websites, applications, email campaigns. Check them out at thewatchandtalk.com/9thlink. All right. So, first of all, a couple weeks ago, we started experimenting with live streaming on YouTube. So look us up on YouTube. Search for The Watch and Talk on YouTube and subscribe. We are live streaming this, so if you hear us referencing anything that people are talking about in the chat field, it's because they're in the live stream chat field. And we usually stream these around 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Thursdays. Right, guys?
That's right.
6 p.m. Thursdays. Yeah.
Okay.
Can't even get that right. That right.
Guys, this was a big episode. This last one, was it not?
Oh, I was going to say all 3 of them.
All
but
3
that
of
last
these.
one, yeah.
Not bad.
First of all, I have to say I regret doing 13 by itself. We should have done 13 and 14 together. If we left that off with you having to wait a week thinking that Audrey was
Up to no good.
that would have been much better. Like, we had to wait a week, obviously, but we had to wait a week between almost all of them. Anyway, so what happened at the end of this last episode that we watched?
I knew it. I knew they were
Yeah.
trying to trick
Who
us
was
into
it? Was
thinking
it Christina
someone was
that called
I have
it,
to
or
say,
was it?
Yeah.
I have to shout out
oh, God.
Christina. Was like she shouted out. They were making it too obvious that Hal Gardner's the bad guy. I don't trust it. So you called it then. Also, everybody go back and watch our reaction video when David Palmer gets assassinated. The second it switches to the next scene with Logan, Christina goes, "I bet it's that motherfucker right there." The second you said that, I was like, "Oh, she's right, and she doesn't even know it."
Dang, that's tight. I don't remember it. I do remember that
That's
you said it, but
That's a
funny.
classic Christina thing to say. Dang, that's tight.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people were probably thinking the same thing. I must say, I have to give a shout out to our listeners doing a really good job of keeping secrets from you. Like, even somebody was like, "Hey, Justin's following you on the 24 Twitter." I blocked you, Justin, on the 24.
What?
24. I blocked you because there's stuff happening that's going to be happening currently.
Yeah, but I can't retweet.
Yeah, you can't retweet. I don't want you reading anything that people tweet us and that we tweet out. So you get blocked. You got your ass blocked by your own podcast.
Damn, that's not the first time I've been blocked this week. That's for sure.
Oh, all right. So,
Okay.
what do you guys think? What do you guys think about the surprise? Was that not a great reveal?
That was really great. Obviously, I already knew. But
You didn't know.
Obviously,
First of all,
'cause
I will
was
give you
smart.
credit for calling it, but you didn't know.
I didn't know.
It was
but
one
I
of your
was
speculations.
pissing-
I
was
mean,
in the
let's
heat of the moment, I called
level
it.
this out just a little bit. Christina was making accusations like
Everywhere.
all over the place this
Hey,
season.
but that
It's like,
one
that's
was-
that.
First of all, that's not fully true. Second of all, I was very upset that Palmer died, so I thought everybody was a suspect at that point.
Yeah, I
True.
think that she accused Lynn McGill of being responsible for it. So anyway, a lot of characters kind of came back this week that were in earlier in the season that ended up playing a bigger role. Obviously, Aaron Pierce, Wayne Palmer has played a huge role in these last couple episodes, and Evelyn Martin, who I'm sure we never thought was going to be a huge character, ended up becoming a really big part of the story so far, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we'll talk about it as we go along. I am assuming this is going to be one of our maybe our longest episodes so far of the show, because there's lots of stuff. I took very detailed notes. Talk about a couple of things first. First of all, I showed you guys. Okay, so a couple months ago, I found in my junk a 24 magazine that I purchased in 2006 when this season was currently airing, and I wanted to show Christina and Justin. But I couldn't because on the front it says Tony Talks, actor Carlos Bernard on Life and Death on 24. And I was like, well, I can't show them that because they're gonna know that Tony dies. So finally, it was awesome to be able to show you that. And I was looking through it, and oh my god, is it so vapid and stupid? So much bullcrap in there, and that's this kind of stuff that happened before. I mean, the internet was already obviously rampant in 2006, but this stuff wouldn't exist now. Although I'm sure there's Game of Thrones magazines.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen things like that, but it's just hilarious that you bought one. It's great.
In fairness, I think I worked in the mall and I was in the magazine store reading it.
You don't have to.
No, but let me say it. And the girl that worked there liked me and said I could just keep it. And I was like, oh, thank you. And she let me keep the 24
You know what happened is she didn't want you coming in every day trying to finish it.
No,
So
I think this is what happened.
magazine.
I said, hey, I work right there, right next to you. Can I just take this and read it and then bring it right back to you? And she goes, oh, we can't do that, but how about I just buy this for you? And she just bought it for me. Even though I had money, so I could have just bought it, but I didn't want to buy it. So anyway. All right.
Pimping ain't easy.
But the show is fun. All right. So yeah, and I do really regret not watching 13 and 14 together. That would have been a great way to leave this
It's
off.
okay.
But we still had a great fun with
too
these three
sad.
episodes.
Yeah.
Before we get into the episode, we got one of the most well-written reviews that I've seen on any of my podcasts. I have like 9 podcasts. And this is one of the most well-written and detailed
I need to
reviews
drink
that I've
some
ever
water
seen.
before we start.
Yeah, Christina's
This is
going to be
long.
reading this all.
Give me a
But
second.
it is from Nerb Extrusion. There who wrote it. And the subject line is a podcast fit for the GOAT, Jack Bauer. I'm sure they're not referring to GOAT, saying Jack Bauer is a land mammal. Yeah. Well, although he is a land mammal, but I guess what else are you going to call a goat? Only horses are equestrian, right?
Okay.
A hooved land mammal?
No,
A hooved
I'm
land
ready to
mammal?
read.
Yeah, go
All
ahead
right.
and start, Christina.
Before you get into this, also, well, I guess we'll do running commentary as we go along. We can pause and discuss this review as we go along.
Okay, feel free to
I also
discuss as we go along.
have kept this from Justin and Christina until now, and so they're going to be. They're reading this for the first time.
All right, here we go. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
Real quick, too, before you read this, this is much nicer.
Jeez.
This is much nicer for you, Justin, and Christina than it is for me. And you'll see as we
Makes
go
sense.
along.
We're the stars of this podcast.
Yes,
So.
this is true.
Okay, so as Dylan already said, a podcast fit for the GOAT, Jack Bauer.
Praise for all
Over the
time.
past, you don't need to do that commentary, but over the past few months, I have become quite the concierge. Is that how you say it?
Connoisseur.
Concierge.
Connoisseur.
Oh, jeez. We're live. There's no editing this out.
Haha, you're an idiot. Okay.
I know, I feel stupid. Okay, over the past few months, I have become quite the connoisseur of quality TV series, recap podcasts, and this is by far my favorite.
By far!
Where others just skim the surface of the episode and give the Cliff Note version to catch you up on what you may have missed, this podcast gives extra insight into casting, production elements, and the character backstories, in quotes.
That's Christina right there.
Oh, that's so funny. This is an easy listen for those looking to break up the monotony of a commute back and forth to work, but is also great for those that really enjoy 24 series and need a more in-depth analysis of each episode. Although I'm not rewatching the series with them, I binge listened the first 3 seasons to get caught up. The information provided reanimates the show as well as sitting in front of the screen. The panel blends well together for an enjoyable show. Dylan, the 24 aficionado, really gives great insight into the show, which the casual watcher may have missed. Although sometimes he can take a joke a little too far.
Fuck you!
Like his...
Baruz.
Baruz!
I don't
Like
think that was an
Baruz
impression of
impression.
Baruz. I think that was more of me just saying, it's hard being a teenage terrorist.
Yeah, but I
Okay,
think
I
there.
think this
So
person's not
if
gonna
there's
like that
12,
you're doing
yeah,
it again.
if there's 12 episodes in a season, we made that joke 12 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys really did beat that horse, the goat
Yeah.
dead.
Sorry about that,
that-
nerve.
Nothing the forward 15 button can't fix. Ouch.
Oh, I get forward 15? Are you kidding?
Oh, that's great.
Here we go. Now,
This-
Christina, you're about to get the nicest things ever right now.
Oh,
Clear her
God.
throat.
This is so funny. Oh, this is great. Christina has the most pleasant voice for a podcast, which thank you. That means so much because I think the first thing I thought of when wanting to do this was how bad my voice was going to sound. So that means a lot.
I think your voice is
even-
angelic.
Huh?
I think your voice is angelic.
Oh, well, thank you. Justin, let's
Pass.
pile it on. Just
Pass.
kidding.
Pass. Hard pass.
Even hearing her read the phone book would be a treat.
Look at this.
Damn,
Gosh,
girl.
I could see.
If
Damn.
Christina could blush.
I'm like, I'm giggling so much I feel like I'm a little kid. Okay, this is getting a little. Whew, I'm getting warm. Okay, she adds great perspectives from a person seeing the show for the first time. So does Justin, who keeps the audience in the know with the most current lingo for millennials, which is true, very true. His fresh perspective helps a rewatcher reminisce about their feelings the first time they saw the events unfold during the series. Dylan has a tendency to nag out over minor flaws in the show, but the other two do a great job keeping him grounded.
I'm just getting shit on by Nerb.
Oh, man. Dylan's passion for the show is quite apparent, though. You can't have rainbows without a little rain. The reaction video posted for Season 5, Episode 1 was an awesome idea and really helped you feel more connected to the panel. It was great to see how people react to the different twists in the show, since I'm sure no one recorded my reaction when I watched it for the first time. All in all, this podcast is the best 24 podcast on or offline. I anticipate each new release like a weekly Christmas present. Wow, that was extremely, first of all, well written. Some words I couldn't even pronounce. Secondly, very thoughtful to take the time and say all of that. Thank you so much.
I think that
From
was
all of
very-
us,
I think
even
that was
Dylan.
very nice. Yeah, I think that was. Even though I don't know why I was getting jumped so hard in the review.
You deserve it. Let's be real.
Thank you very much.
That
That
was
was a really
really
nice,
sweet.
extremely nice review. So, anybody else wants to write in a review for us? You notice that the theme is that Christina reads it, and this person obviously loves your voice a lot, so they wrote
So he
the
just
longest
wrote a
possible
really
That's why they
review.
wrote a long one. Yeah.
Yeah,
totally.
that was very
Great.
smart,
That's
Nerb.
great.
Really,
Very
really
smart.
appreciate that. Shout out to you. All right, so let's get into these episodes, which I cannot wait to discuss. I'm telling you, I've been so excited, especially going through these rewatch of these. I was just giddy with excitement, like a little. All right. So episode 514 aired on March 20th, 2006. It's from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Starts off with Jack washing as they cover up Tony's body. So yeah, you get a verification that he is DEAD dead,
Rip.
which is, I mean, you guys knew it had happened, but I felt like there was a little bit of hope from Christina, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Something's happening with Christina right now, but that was really weird.
What do you...
All right.
That was a yeah.
So yeah, Henderson got away, but Chloe got info off his computer anyway. When she was hacking his computer, and she got info on Colette Stinger. And Curtis is prepping attack team, and Jack said he's going to go with him to go after Colette Stinger. And Buchanan briefed Karen Hayes on Colette. Logan's about to make the announcement about declaring martial law, and Martha tries one last effort to get him to stop and says that Hal is setting him up. So going back through, obviously rediscussing this, you're gonna be able to see the perspective of what actually was going on with Hal Gardner. How we were pretty sure that he was evil. I know that Christina was keeping her mind open, but I'm sure we were all leaning toward him being the bad guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I felt like they made it a little too obvious, and just because I felt like I was analyzing the show. But if I was watching it without analyzing at all, and I was just sitting there for the pure enjoyment of it, I would have thought for sure he was the bad guy.
They even had him like, he was like talking about the legality of it, right? And Hal Gardner looks super evil and says, "Don't worry, I'm in control of the situation." And he's sitting there looking super evil. Here's the funny thing. Okay, for these 3 episodes, they make him out to seem like the most evil person in the world. Moving forward, he never has evil glances. He never has any like weird looks or anything like that. He looks like a normal guy moving forward. So pay attention to that as we go along, because that is really funny that the show was trying to make him look evil, and he just looked evil. But then once the reveal that Charles Logan was actually a bad guy, I'm surprised you guys haven't had questions about that. Like, what was going on with him and Walt Cummings?
Yeah.
Have you thought about that? Because remember, Walt Cummings, you know, he was alone in the room with Walt Cummings when Walt Cummings blackmailed him.
Oh, yeah. So we don't know, like, oh, yeah. I guess I was just so focused on Walt Cummings that I didn't really... I don't know. I have no answer.
Here's the thing.
Dylan, did you, like notice anything weird, though, when you were watching it, since you already knew, or no?
No.
Like, between...
I paid... Well, this was the biggest thing at first. When I first found out, I was like, that really doesn't make any sense, because if Walt Cummings was working for him the whole time, then why would Walt Cummings have gone and blackmailed him and said, your administration will be implicated unless you go along with what I'm saying? And Charles Logan goes, I can't believe you're responsible for this, or whatever. So this isn't actually completely explained. I think maybe it is a little bit, but basically, Logan was obviously in charge of this, and then Henderson worked for him. He had Henderson go to Walt Cummings, so if anything happened, Walt Cummings could take the fall for it. Walt Cummings didn't know that Logan was involved also.
You're still there, Tina?
Can you guys hear me? What's happening?
I can hear you. I can hear you
now.
Oh, is he messed up? Dylan.
Yeah.
Hello? Can you guys not hear me?
Yeah, we couldn't hear you for
You
a
broke
minute.
up. Now,
Okay.
now we can hear you. You couldn't hear you the whole thing you
Take a
just said.
timestamp of that, guys. That's how the sausage is made. So wait, where did you last hear what I said?
I heard nothing of your whole last stanza.
Okay. So what I was saying, could you tell me the last thing that you heard me say though? Were you listening to anything that I said?
No. I asked you what you thought, or if you saw it coming, and you said,
okay.
Like basically,
right.
basically not
I gotta
really.
go way back. All right. So tell me if it's silence. Tell me so I don't talk for like 2 minutes without anybody hearing me. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Christina?
Yes.
Oh God, Christina, are you almost home? Like, what's happening?
Just say your stanza or whatever he said. Just go.
This isn't a monologue though, Christina. When are you going to be able to?
I got you, dog. Don't even stress.
Okay.
I know, like, seriously, don't worry about it. I'm just parking. It's going to be okay. I just can't figure out how my fucking phone with Skype works because it keeps going through the Bluetooth. It's driving me crazy. See? Just leave it alone.
Are you mad?
Leave it alone. Yeah, I'm pissing this new Skype app. It's driving me crazy.
All right. So.
Go ahead, Dylan.
Okay, so I remember when I first watched it, it bugged me at first until I kind of thought it over and all that kind of stuff, or kind of figured out what the situation was. How Walt Cummings went to Charles Logan and said, hey, just so you know, I'm responsible for all this, but you're not going to say anything because otherwise your administration is going to be implicated. And Logan goes along. And remember at the time, Christina, you're like, Logan's a little weasel. He's doing this just to save his own administration. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember her saying that, but
so that was I didn't understand that, but this is the way the structure works. Logan's obviously as far as we know at this point, Logan's on top, and Henderson works for him, and then Henderson recruited Walt Cummings.
Right.
So they kept it insulated from Walt Cummings to Logan. Well, Walt Cummings never knew that Logan was implicit also. But Walt
Okay.
Cummings didn't know.
Okay, I guess that's okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fine. I can
yeah.
be okay with that.
I mean, it's the way it's the way
Right.
it happened. He kept
Sure.
He and I'm assuming the reason it was is in case something came back to the White House, he would be able to dump it all on Walt Cummings, which is exactly what he did.
Mm-hmm.
At least at first. And
Yeah, I guess that is actually smart.
So yeah. Anyway. So yeah, let's we'll truck right along on this episode. So Martha again tries one last ditch effort to get him to stop the martial law. Says Hal's setting up. He doesn't listen. He launches the martial law. I do have to say, when you're seeing him give his press conferences, Logan always really came across as presidential to me. Like, he seems like a president. Does he not?
Yeah,
I think when he's in front of people, like when
That's
he's
what
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
otherwise,
When you're
not
seeing him
really.
sniveling behind the scenes or whatever, he doesn't seem so. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
now we have to think about also, right? This is the biggest villain that Jack Bauer's ever come across, correct?
Well, the most powerful.
By
Let's go with
far, right?
Yeah.
By leaps and
Well,
bounds.
and also like not just him, but that what's the guy's name? His homeboy that trained Jack, basically.
Mhm.
Like, not only does he have the president as now a huge villain,
Most
but this
powerful.
guy who's just the most powerful. But then he has
Intellectually and
this guy. Then he has this guy who also is just as capable as he is, and he hasn't met his match in that either. So it's like two-sided.
Yeah, the cards are quite stacked. Now think about, it's like, have you thought about the implications of what this is going to be now? Because now we still have, what, 8 episodes left, and Logan has some power behind him, and this again, nothing that Jack's ever been up against before. So I guess that's something to it as we go. So yeah. So Homeland Security arrives at CTU. We meet Miles. He is just so clearly a douche.
Yeah.
And he's like, we should be taking over now. We're not going through this charade of an assessment. And he immediately goes to Chloe and messes with her about taking Edgar's station. And she fights back on giving up her key card immediately. She's really pissy with him immediately. We also can see in the news the army setting up in LA. We see the implementation of martial law being set up. And we also hear that's the first time that's ever happened. And they're debating the legality. All right.
Oh, you're here? Huh. Oops.
Yeah, I'm back. All right, what were you saying?
I was saying that. I know exactly what I was saying. I was saying that what I think is interesting is that even though he was obviously been running or been in on this whole time, he was letting the vice president make decisions for him. Like, what's up with that?
I think that he also... Okay, so the plan wasn't for these terrorists to get Centox nerve gas and run around the country with it. That was never part of the plan. So he's also been trying to help them catch them. Remember, there's three groups here. There's Jack Bauer and CTU. There's the people involved in the conspiracy on the American side, and then there's the terrorists. They all three have different goals. And Logan has been trying to get CTU to stop them because they wanted to clean up his mess. This is his mess, right? And he not only is afraid of Americans dying, but he's afraid of it falling back on him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes more sense because I'm like, Yeah. No, that makes sense. Like, it went further than he thought it was going to go. So now it's kind of like a mess beyond the mess that he thought he already knew he was creating, I guess.
And he is still over his head. Like, Logan isn't out of nowhere a criminal mastermind, right? Logan is still the person we've always known him to be, except he was involved in something and has been covering it up behind our backs that we didn't know, right? But it's not like he's a complete mastermind now, right? He still has the same character traits that you know him as having. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Like I was saying, Mike Novick still going along with the whole, Hal Gardner being the bad guy, especially with what Martha Logan's saying too. So we're like, oh man, this guy is definitely doing some crazy shit and trying to get Logan and all sorts of crap. Martha tells Pierce that she doesn't trust the vice president. Wayne Palmer suddenly calls Pierce and says he's come to show him something from David. And Pierce is a little trepidatious, but he says, please, like, just trust me. And he goes, okay, fine. He's like, my brother trusts me.
Trepidatious.
Yes. I think pretty good word. I'd probably put it in my top 100 words of all time.
Nice.
Colette tells, okay, so Desmond, I'm going to call him Desmond, Christina, even though his name is Theo Stoller in the episode. I'm going to call him Desmond.
I'm okay with that.
So Colette tells Desmond that she's meeting him at the airport at the end of the episode. This is what she basically says, and they're quite lustful. She calls. She leaves and calls Bierko, and we find out he's planning on leaking gas into basically like an SDGNA to go into people's. Which would suck, right? Could you imagine just sitting home and
not everyone's gonna know what SDG&E is, Dylan.
Oh, you're right. That's San Diego. The natural gas plant. That's basically. Yeah, here I'm thinking in my head that that's just what it's called. But it's water, like water power and gas that's trying to go in gas and all. So yeah, could you imagine just the pink yogurt coming out of you when you're sitting at home?
Just the pink yogurt. I didn't order any pink yogurt.
Now, not only have we discussed now that he has Henderson, which is intellectually and physically, equal to him. Then we have Logan, who is the most powerful adversary he's ever come across. Now, also to add to all that, the Centox nerve gas has been one of the scariest threats that we've seen on the show. I mean, nukes are scary also.
Yeah, because that other one, remember there was that one where last season where you could possibly be okay after being exposed.
Yeah, the virus.
That's not as scary.
Yeah.
If you have 50-50 chance, you're feeling pretty good.
The virus was scary, but this stuff is instant kill, right? This is,
this is pink yogurt for everybody.
Pink yogurt for everybody. So, Buchanan calls out Karen Hayes on them shutting down CTU, and then she admits that CTU is being absorbed by Homeland Security. I have to say, by the end of these 3-4 episodes, I could go for the rest of my life without ever hearing somebody say absorbed by Homeland Security. They just said it over and over and over again. They really
for as fast as so many things have been moving this season, like it's kept a really good pace. They did that whole thing was just so ridiculous. It just took too long. It took all 3 episodes.
Yeah, and also just the phrasing. I'm so sick of it myself. But yeah, Buchanan calls out Karen Hayes on them shutting down CTU, and she admits that I'm just repeating a note that I just said. I'm gonna take a timestamp on this one. I gotta edit myself. And Christine, it doesn't.
Yeah, and then I have to be stupid and can't pronounce words.
So Jack and Curtis arrive at Colette's hotel. She's already gone, but Desmond is there, and he gets the drop on Curtis, and then an intense standoff. By the way, during the standoff, Curtis is holding this ninja action move the whole time that he always has. Remember when we saw him kick ass last season, and he's all about using Taekwondo and stuff like that, which is really just funny to see from him. Anyway, so then they ID themselves as U.S. government, and we find out he's a German spy, and his name's Theo Stoller. So he can't help because that jeopardizes his mission, and he's been undercover for 6 months. And then there's so many great Jack Bauer lines in these 3 episodes, but this is the start of one of many. He says, Desmond says to him, you have to think about what you do in my position. And Jack says, you better start thinking about what you would do in mine. And he grabs him by the scruff of the neck. And then CTU calls the German government. They refuse to help to make him cooperate. And then Jack says he'll offer something more valuable than Colette Stinger. And Jack offers Desmond the wet list. So the wet list is the Western European terrorist list. And it is a NSA curated list of terrorist operatives in Western Europe who are being tracked by authorities of the United States. So that's what this was.
Did they say? I knew what the list was, what they were getting at, what was on the list. But did they explain the acronym? Because the wet thing was weird to me.
It's Western
I must have
European
missed the
terrorist.
acronym.
I don't think
I
they
must have missed
explained the acronym.
acronym.
I don't think they did.
I didn't know the acronym. Okay, yeah, that's why I said, oh, when you said the acronym, I was like, that makes more sense now. They should have really. But go ahead.
So Desmond quickly agrees without even thinking about it. He's like, no problem. Yeah, problem solved. And because apparently his government's been trying to get their hand on that for a long time. Jack calls Chloe, and without her key card, she can't. So then she runs a coffee spilling trick on Miles, and then she gets it no problem and sends it to him.
Classic.
It actually
Classic
shows
Chloe
the
move.
list on the screen. I looked through it. As far as I can tell, there's no Easter eggs in there, so nothing to report. So this is the work that I.
Oh,
the work
that would
I
have
put
been
through
fun.
on
That is the work. Wow.
I'm
That's
assuming,
serious.
to be honest, those are probably not cast members, crew members that had their names on it, because it lists a bunch of people. So when Miles get back, suddenly he's suspicious. And Desmond agrees to help them catch her, so they head to the airport. And Colette completes the deal with Bierko, and then she leaves. Here's the thing. Remember earlier in the season when Jack was praying to be Rosler? And then they were they completed a deal with him. He figured out how to trigger one of the canisters for them. And then they're like, you're coming with us. And they kidnap him and then try to kill him. When they made a deal with him. And then look, they make Colette Stinger is just another person like this. And they let her go no problem.
Yeah, she was free. And she got her money. She verified it.
Yeah, she got that 10 mil.
Yep. And then we see Hal Gardner arguing with on the phone with the California governor about the National Guard and how he's going to take care of it. And then Secret Service tells Hal Gardner that Wayne Palmer's trying to get in. And he's very inquisitive, which makes us think that he's suspicious, but he's just inquisitive.
Yes.
That's interesting it's interesting how you said now he's going to never seem suspicious again. I just think it's funny how they do that.
Yeah.
Once we know Nina, once you know she's bad, and it's just funny.
I mean, in this case, they are the most overt they've ever been, where all his glances looked evil, and now they don't look evil anymore. But on some of this, he doesn't look as bad once you realize. But
that's funny.
What was that?
That was Christina laughing, but it kind of broke up and extended the
What?
laugh for too long.
Yeah, that was weird.
I was like, wait, I'm not saying anything.
This is what it sounded like, Tina. It sounded like this.
It did sound weird. I was like, are you mocking me or something?
It,
No, I wasn't even laughing. I was so silent. That's funny.
Anyway, so Jack lays in the back of the car with Desmond, and Desmond kind of spills his guts that he fell for Colette. And then I love this noir-ish angle that they have with just a little beam of light on Jack while he's hiding in the back. It was very
that was tight.
film noir style, and it looked really good with him there on the gun. Karen calls Chloe in, and Miles figured out what she did. And Bill yells at her, and Karen says to Bill, "You expect me to give your agents a chance?" And Bill's like, "God damn it." Then they call Jack, and Desmond says, "Put it on speakerphone or I'm leaving the car." So he puts on the speakerphone, and he goes, "Have you given the wet list over?" And he goes, "No." And he goes, "Get it," or have you given it to him? He's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Get it back." Immediately draws his gun on Desmond, who was obviously going to draw his gun also. Then he argues.
That was a tight scene.
This whole scene was really awesome. He argues with Karen on the phone. And he's like, "If you blow this operation, you will personally be responsible for every life lost." And she goes, "I don't like being threatened, Mr. Bauer." And he says, "Miss Hayes, that's not a threat. That's a fact." Love it.
That was dope.
I love it. I love that.
I knew you were just probably giddy over that one.
And he gets word that Colette is arriving, and he said, "Are you saying we need to abandon this mission, give up our only lead?" She goes, "Yeah, I've seen you've left me with no choice, but there will be repercussions." He goes, "Fine." And he says fine pretty much like Chloe. Am I right? That was very
He's
Chloe.
taking notes.
Fine.
He's been taking notes.
Yeah. And then when he got off the phone, he says, Are we okay?" to Desmond, and Desmond says, "We're fine." Which I love. After that tense standoff that they really had, in such close quarters inside a car, I thought that was really cool. Anyway, Colette arrives, and then he embraces her and gets one last smooch with her. And then Jack comes out, and she realizes he's betrayed her, and they arrest her, and Theo just drives off. He doesn't even look her in the eyes after she realizes it. He turns around and just walks away. And then he drives off. The memory card self-destructs. Shady, is that not?
Yeah, that was. And then he calls him.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Sorry." Oh, Jack.
Calls him and apologizes.
That's
He goes,
not like you, man.
"When this is over, I'll help you rebuild your investigation. I give you my word." He goes, "I had your word. Now I know what it's worth."
Oh, that was ouch. That hurt. That hurt.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like one of the shadiest things we've ever seen Jack do. He's usually pretty much a man of his word.
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised. I was really actually surprised.
Oof. Hold on one second.
Lost her on that one.
Christina, hold on one second.
I knew he'd be up
No,
to
stop
something,
talking,
but I
Christina.
didn't think
Christina,
he
stop
was.
talking.
I think it's catching up. That's why.
Are you connected to your Wi-Fi network at home?
I sure am.
Do you want to disconnect from it? Because I think it's.
Oh, you want me to go on my bars?
Yes.
Stay to the bars. Okay, if you
We got the
insist.
bars. We got the bars.
You know what? I have a 5G and I'm not on the 5G. Should I try that first?
Sure. Something better than what we got right now. I took a timestamp. What up, Dan? I wonder if you're still listening to us. Just going
Is it just
over-
Dan?
What?
I thought we had 4 people.
Now we have 2 people. We had 3 people a second ago,
Aw.
but they probably disconnected once they heard all the technical issues that we're having.
That's so sad.
I know.
Hi, Dan.
It's Christina's fault.
Stay with us, Dan. Okay, I'm on. We're good. Let's go.
Okay, we'll try it. So what were you saying? Do you remember you were saying? Sorry to...
Yeah, I was just saying how, like, I'm just surprised that Jack did that. Like, I know that was an important list, and he wouldn't just give it up willy-nilly.
Yeah.
But also, damn, Jack, that's shady, because that guy he trusted him, and that's going to come back in some way, shape, or form, I think. Maybe not. Maybe it's not that important of a storyline.
The funny thing is, the only reason that we think that list is so important is because they made it so important on the show. Right? Like, they just, like, went overboard being like, you can't give that up. Like, are you kidding me? The way they freak out about it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think they did an effective job of showing the importance of a list that otherwise none of us would think that was that big of a deal. Right? Like, I don't think we... So,
yeah, true.
Colette is pretty bummed about Theo betraying her, and she says she didn't even see it coming. And then she requests immunity, and then she'll tell him her source. And when he calls, he explains that he didn't give her the wet list. And then Bill says to Karen Hayes, like, I told you we were. And as Wayne drives onto the compound, a van approaches from behind, runs off the road, shoots him with a shotgun. And then he crashes by a tunnel and he's able to get away. All right, let's talk about this. What is the fucking plan for killing the brother of the former president of the United States on the presidential retreat?
That's what I think is like, what is up? But now it makes sense that these people are on the presidential retreat. It's like, how did this van full of guys with like, he got stopped and got checked before he got in. How'd they get in?
Well, I mean, they probably have clearance. They probably got clearance to come on or
Right.
whatever.
No, now I know. Now I know that. But at the time, I was like,
here's
where
my problem.
did the van come from?
Why are they going to shoot him off the road? Why wouldn't they try to make it look like an accident?
Very good point.
Like,
I guess how else do you take somebody off the road?
you
You
run them
ram
off
your
the
car
road.
into them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you pull over, you stop them, you inject them with something, and then you make it look like he had a heart attack and he drove off the road or something. Not that I have done this before, but
Sounds like you have experience
don't
there,
cross
Dylan.
me. Don't cross me, people. Anyway, Colette gets confirmation of her immunity, and her source is Audrey Raines. And Jack's like, you are lying to me. And she goes, apparently she had a price. Jack responds very negatively to the idea of it being Audrey. And then beep, 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 beep. All right, episode 515 aired on March 27th, 2006, and it's from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Bill immediately tells Chloe to look into Audrey, and then Audrey is arrested immediately, within seconds. All right? Like 3 minutes.
Yeah, they don't have time to waste. If they think it's her, I mean, people have double-crossed them before. I definitely didn't think Audrey was up to no good, but you don't have time to waste.
Okay, let me ask you right now. At this point, did you think that she was a bad guy?
No, I don't think she has it in her.
I didn't think that she did. I don't necessarily know if I like was super convinced that it wasn't her.
What was
but
your reaction when Colette said it?
I was like, yeah, okay, that's a nice twist.
Okay, what about you, Christina? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
you have some
it was a
personality.
good-
You have some personality, so hopefully you can answer that question better.
It was a good. If
Yikes.
it were the case, it definitely would have been a good twist. Like, oh damn, never saw that one coming in a million years. But knowing that, like, just her relationship with Jack and everything she's been through, and like, I guess I thought back to when she got kidnapped. Like, she's been through a lot where she was kind of at the center of these kind of terrorist acts. I couldn't imagine that her as a person would have that in her based on what she's gone through. So that's why I was like, nah, that it couldn't be her.
So Jack brings Colette in. He doesn't believe her, and he says, "If you're lying to me, I'm going to make this the worst day of your life. Do you understand me?" Audrey's brought into the interrogation room, and she looks in horror at the interrogation equipment. Bill is also arguing strongly against it, and Miles, the fucking rat fuck, says their trust in her is why they can't believe her, and then he talks about political fallback to Karen. Christina, what do you think about that? You can keep your mic unmuted and you can talk if you.
I mean, I don't know if I think anything really about it. I mean, he's just that guy's. I mean, I think we already got to it. Like, okay, let's jump ahead a little bit because then I'll explain how I feel about this guy more.
Yeah,
so
totally.
this whole situation with Homegirl, the Anna Kendrick, is that her name?
No.
What's that girl's name?
Oh, Kate Mara. Oh.
Kate Mara. You knew I was talking about. Yeah, I knew.
Yeah.
As soon as she got on the screen, I was like, oh, Justin's having a ball that he loves her.
He
girl,
texted me
dude.
about her. He texted me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
this
knew
is
as
my
soon
You
as
didn't
she
know
got
she
on
was
the
on the
screen.
show, did you?
No idea.
This was her first big role.
This is probably the best thing that's happened so far on the show.
Okay, well, I have lots to
Justin
talk
is
about
now
her when
officially
we-
a fan. Yeah, well, so like that whole situation, I was like, man, this guy is like a real douchebag. Like I believed her 100%, you know. And then you see what happens with her, and like, so anyways, that guy just has that like douchey nature. So I mean, there's not much to say other than that. Like I don't get his agenda. I don't get why he's so like one of those people that just like tells the principal, like, excuse me, like I don't get why people are like that, but there's people in the world like him. So for whatever, someone who's like that, please let us know. What's your agenda? Like, what's
Why?
the
Please
main
let us know
point?
why you're like that.
People that are going to admit to being like that.
Like, what is the agenda?
Please tell us why you're like that and try to not be like that anymore.
So Jack comes in the room and he says, "Why is Agent Burke here?" And they're like, "Well, she can interrogate here." He goes, No way. I'm going to interrogate Audrey myself." And Karen's Hayes is like, "Nope, no way. You have a personal history with her." And he goes, you know, I don't care, you know, basically. And she said, brings up Nina Myers, which I love the callbacks like this, right? I love the callback with this. So he says, "Hey, Nina Myers is a mistake. I never denied that, but she was deep cover for years before I met her. She fooled a lot of people for a long time, not just me."
Which is true.
And it also shows that, you know, why I love callbacks like this is it shows that previous situations are informing current ones rather than a plot line being recycled. Like, this situation is being informed by the situation with Nina Myers. It's not just a recycled plot line with, oh, look, another person he's sleeping with is another
Up to no good.
up to no good, right? And then she responds, "Hey, maybe Audrey's been fooling people too." And he goes, "Ha." I wrote down exactly what he said because he kills it right now. He says, "Maybe you're right, Karen, but I'd think twice about who you invasively interrogate. Audrey Rain's the senior advisor to the Secretary of Defense, James Heller, who happens to be her father. And if you're wrong, he's going to eat you alive."
You should have done the character. You should have been Jack. That was great, Dylan.
It's like he uses cheat codes. He went from going to that conversation, no chance you're going to be able to interrogate Audrey. In one sentence, he's holding all the cards. At the end of that sentence, he's holding everything, and they're like, "Oh, well, okay," because then Bill's like, even Miles the rat has nothing to say. He's like, "Hey, he just brought up some pretty good points right there," and then Bill's like, "Just let him talk to him for 10 minutes. You know, what have you got to lose? 10 minutes, and if he can't get anything out of her, then you guys can have it." He's like, "Okay." He's letting the person who's most recently been sleeping with her go and interrogate her just because he brought up such a succinct
not
argument.
most recently,
No.
as we find out.
As we found
As
out.
we
Someone
found
else
out.
is more recent
I had forgotten
than
about
him.
this too, but give it a
Plot
second.
twist.
Give it a second. We'll get that in literally just a second.
Okay.
So Jack and Bill talk, and neither of them thinks that she's guilty. Bierko and some terrorists steal a cop car, and they kill a few cops, nullifying the curfew problem. And they break into a compound, kill a worker, and have the manager take them to the control room, and they take the canisters to the distribution tank, and the guy says he'll have it ready in a half hour. So, yeah. Boo, so scary. Bierko is so scary. After the attack on CTU, I felt like the terrorists were less scary. I think. During that, I was like, oh my god, look at what they just did. But afterward, while they were doing this, I don't know. We knew when he's trying to put 16 canisters off, that obviously that's not going to go off, right? Like, all of those canisters aren't going to go off. At least I felt like that, I think, when I first watched it.
Yeah.
But I was ready for Bierko to get his, to be quite honest. Because, he killed my boy Edgar and my boy Lynn McGill. My boy Lynn McGill,
Those
right?
are your boys right there,
Those are my
yeah.
boys. So, Chloe finds a connection between Walt Cummings and Audrey, and it looks like they slept together. How about this? When she said that, Jack moves intimidatingly close to Chloe.
Yeah.
And says, how could you possibly know that? And she found receipts that they stayed in the same room, and then he kind of snaps out of it. And you could tell it hurt his feelings. And he really, it really starts making him considering the possibility. He's looking at a security cam with Audrey, and he's like, is this really the case? Is this possible? Like, are you kidding me?
Could it be?
Now, was this not going through your head at the same time?
Yeah, it was. I was like, damn.
I don't know if I was questioning it. I just kind of figured that was happening. Is that what you're saying, or are you saying the emotional side of it?
Because remember I was saying how I knew for sure Audrey wasn't bad. I didn't think Audrey did anything wrong. So he's saying was this making me question? So yeah, I mean, definitely this was wait, what, Audrey?
What were you like, Christina?
Wait, what? Tell me again. You did what?
Tell me again.
So, Justin, you weren't going back and forth during this? You were just taking it as face value?
I think I was just accepting it, yeah. I don't know if I was going back and forth about it.
Do you think about your thoughts?
Do I think about my thoughts?
Yeah. Do you ever hey, I'm thinking this? Because you oftentimes say you don't know what you were thinking, and you do a podcast where you're supposed to be discussing what you're thinking during your show.
Yeah. I often think about my thoughts.
Okay, cool. Just checking.
Yeah. Thanks for asking, though.
No problem. So a new agent arrives. Her name's Sherry Rothenberg, played by Kate Mara. One of her first.
I
got some thoughts about this.
He wrote a whole page.
So she's there to replace Edgar. Can you say upgrade?
Really? Oh, that's so mean. Since I know you guys are going to be discussing her for at least 30 seconds, I'm going to take a drink of water. So please go ahead and continue to discuss how hot she is, how much of a babe she is, all you guys' little cat calls. Go ahead. Have at it.
She's fine. She's a professional actress, and she should be respected.
You guys are so stupid.
She's talented.
I just ruined your whole...
Has a ton of talent, and she should be respected, Christina. So that was kind of disgusting what you just said.
I don't know what you take us as, but we're respectful young men.
Christina, but that's fine. So I also love Chloe trying to calmly start things off on the right foot with her, because you can see that she wants to get snarky with her, especially when she says she's replacing Edgar, and then she's like, "No, I'm not going to be mean. This person just came up here to work. I'm going to be nice to her," and especially because she makes a mistake early on, and Chloe's like, "Okay, now you're supposed to do this," and she's like, "Okay." And you can tell right off the bat that something's up with her and Miles, but you don't know. They made eye contact, and it was weird.
Yeah, really long, creepy eye contact.
So, the way that Dylan used to look at Christina across the store.
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So, okay, so this is one of the best scenes in the season. Jack goes in and talks to Audrey, and she's like, "Jack," and he's like, "Sit down." And she doesn't do it immediately. She's like, "What? And he goes, "Sit down." And you're like, uh-oh, spaghetti-o. So he starts discussing what they know, and he said they're trying to embarrass her father. And Jack says, "Is he involved?" For a second there, you're like, oh, crap, right? Maybe he's involved also, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, "Jack, you know him better than that. What's going on with you?" So then he asks about Walt. And she said she just met him in a couple of DOD briefings. And he's like, "You sure?" She goes, "Yes, I'm sure." So tense, because then he just tosses a folder, and he's like, "Open it." And she looks right back at him. She looks right in the eyes, and she's like, "Oh, shit, he knows." And he opens it up. Sure enough, she did sleep with him. She admits it. She was vulnerable after losing Jack. And she didn't say Paul also. I expected her to say after losing Paul and you. So it seemed like to me at the time that she was just manipulating him.
Yeah, or like, did we really care? Did she really care about Paul at all? That's the question.
So it seems like she at least was trying to play to him because she's like, "Why did you break it off?" And she's like, "Because it wasn't you." And this whole scene is. By the way, this goes on for a while. This is maybe like a 7-8 minute scene, which is long for 24, because it doesn't leave the room the entire time. It doesn't go and show the people on the other side of the two-way mirror. It doesn't show other people, other stories going on. It just sticks with this whole scene, which is not very common for 24. 24 is kind of hyperactive, skipping around scenes in the same way that Game of Thrones is very similar. So then he just out of nowhere he throws the table and he puts his hand on her throat.
Yeah.
Pretty violent.
Pretty violent. If she was worried about how he was treating her ex-husband, she was getting...
Yep. And he's like, "You've already
Maybe she liked it, though.
He says to her, "You've already lied to me once."
She said, finally.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
I'm saying.
Sorry.
He said, "You've already lied to me once. You tell me what I want to know, or this will become very unpleasant." And she is, again, I know I've said this a million times, but she is such a
Let me guess. She's such a good
actress.
Do you not think that while you're watching this? What a great actress. It's like, this is my
You know what's funny, Dylan? This is 100% the honest truth. I thought Dylan's going to say something about how she's such a great actress because she's doing such a good job in this scene.
But what do you think,
That's what
Christina?
I thought. I think she was doing... I said because she's doing a good job in the scene. So
you did.
I think she's doing a good job in the scene, but my thought was more about how you were going to talk about how she was doing
so you were thinking,
good.
hey, when we talk about this, Dylan's going to be analyzing the show and discussing
And
his
about
thoughts
how
and
great she
opinions
is.
on it, rather than saying, I don't know what I was thinking. I think that I was
I'm
just
not
watching
knocking
it.
Justin. I'm not following you and knocking Justin.
I know.
Justin's my boy.
That's right.
I'm not consistent.
But yes, I was thinking about your thoughts, which is also nice of me. I'm a good
Wow,
friend.
Christina's been thinking about my thoughts.
About the show.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. So, anyway, she says she's telling the truth. And then he said, after like really looking, he's like in kissing distance to her. And then he looks at the camera and says, "This is over."
What's weird is, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I also was thinking, are they about to make out right now?
Yeah.
Because they were so
That'd have
close
been
to each other.
That would have been HAT hot.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I thought that too for a second. Not that it would be hot. I thought that they were gonna
You thought that it'd be hot.
So Karen says, "Hey, it looks like she broke him." And Bill's like, "No, she's
yeah,
innocent."
dang, that was good too.
Bill's like, I'm certain Jack's certain. She's like, I'm not. And she says to make sure that Jack doesn't interfere. So Miles tells Sherry, first mistake, and she's out of there, and then he withdraws his hand that's touching the chair next to her. And then after he leaves, she's like, "What's going on there?" Chloe's like, "What's going on there?" And she says that she had brought a sexual harassment case against him. He got off with a warning. And she's like, "I can't get into any details because the file is sealed." And she's like, "Don't worry, I don't want details." All right, so Kate Mara's character's a weirdo, no?
Yeah,
but I dig
great.
it.
Yeah,
So-
I actually liked it.
Here's the thing, is the show is clearly taking some stance against sexual harassment victims. Kind of making it seem like men that have sexual harassment cases drawn against them are victims in a lot of these cases. And she is literally playing a straw man for conservative nut jobs that think that men are victims in workplace sexual harassment culture. This is the very conservative writers of the show that I think are very fair in a lot of situations and exploring both sides of the issues. But the fact that they wanted to make Sherry come and be like I throw out sexual harassment charges at everybody who comes across me. First of all, that person doesn't exist, and it's a complete made up thing from these writers, and it's pretty dumbfounding to me that they did that. Really, and
And does it really have any purpose as we continue? Like, it seems like it's gonna maybe get Bill or somebody in some kind of weird trouble that will get cleared up eventually. But
not
other
Bill.
than that,
Bill's
like,
gone
what's
now. Right? What's the
I
point?
guess.
If you ask me,
What's the point? Yeah.
They are. I think that they thought, hey, gave her some personality, right? At least that this person that they put in here isn't a bland person, right? He's not
Mm-hmm.
Curtis, right? She already has more personality than Curtis did in his whole first season within her first 2 episodes. But again, this isn't a real person. This is a conservative caricature of women that there's lots of women for hundreds of years that have dealt with sexual harassment in the workplace, and that this is the stance they want to take on it. Is there's so many people that are like, yep, that's how it's like, that's what it's like, and it's disappointing to me that they decided to do this. I didn't think about it too much on my first watch, but on this rewatch, I'm just like, wow, this is and there's a lot of things like on the torture debate, they cover both sides of it very clearly. And remember, this show is when enhanced interrogation was a huge topic of conversation during the Bush administration. And they cover both sides of it. They don't take a real stance on it. They cover both sides, but they're clearly taking a stance on this, and it's really weird of them. And just like you said, Christina, I don't know what it does. Like, I don't know what it does other than it makes it seem like they want to show a straw man that people that think exist that, in my opinion, do not exist. Anyway, and I'm not saying that there aren't people that have made accusations against people unfounded. I'm not saying that isn't the case ever, but do you see how she's rapid firing them at everybody that she encounters? She wouldn't be able to she wouldn't have any job anywhere if that's what she did. Rapid fire accusations at Bill. Like she solves something. She comes to the rescue about something earlier, and Bill says, "Good job," and gives her a tap on the shoulder, and then walks away. And she goes, "Do you see the way he touched me?" Like they're showing that she's just rapid firing to anybody that she interacts with, and I guess we'll see where it goes. I don't remember exactly where this exactly goes, but it isn't a big deal. It isn't a big part of the story. But so yeah, Kate Mara, thumbs up, right, Justin?
Wonderful. Glad she's there.
So yeah, what's it called? Miles gives Sherry shit about something, and Chloe covers for her, and then smacks him down and tells him to piss off, basically. Miles. So Jack starts taking Audrey out, and Bill says Karen has orders transferred to Burke, and he says he doesn't care. And then Burke and 2 guards say they have their orders, and he goes, "I don't care about your orders. Get out of my way. Get out of my way." And he's getting ready to fight Burke, and then he knocks out the 2 guards, but Burke tases him before. He should have gone for Burke first, man. He should have cracked Burke first. And then she gets taken, and he gets handcuffed. Spaghetti-O, right?
Yeah, I mean, kind of, I guess.
Wait, what do you mean kind of, I guess? It could have gotten really bad. He's lucky he's lucky. She knew, even when Jack comes later, which we'll get to, she knows the only reason why this is going to probably work out okay is because she has Jack as her boy.
Right.
Jack's the number one boy to have.
Right.
Who's number 2 boy, Christina? Would it be Dylan Chuck?
I think I'm breaking up.
All right, so people, like I said, people still trying to kill Wayne. They answer Henderson, we see, who's still trying to get him. And again, it's stupid that they're just trying to kill him with a gun on a presidential compound. Doesn't make any sense at all. It's a loop. It's a plot hole, if you ask me. Aaron Pierce asks about him, and one of the guards says, "Oh yeah, he radioed in, but he hasn't showed up." So he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go look for him because obviously something's up."
You got a little nervous here.
You did?
Yeah.
Thinking what?
That Aaron Pierce is gonna get taken out now.
See, look, Justin's all about that Aaron
Justin
Pierce.
ass.
That young Aaron Pierce.
Here we go.
Yeah, you're welcome, Dylan. That I thought about something. Surprise.
No, but I like how you have a character that you love. Now that Tony's gone and Michelle's gone.
Yeah.
Well, you have Kate Mara and Aaron Pierce.
Exactly.
So, so Jack says Henderson must have given Colette Stinger Audrey's name as a contingency. Okay, here's another plot hole that I cannot work out myself. Okay, so remember these separatists, Bierko and the other Eastern European separatists, they are not working with Henderson and the president anymore. They are splitting off, and Henderson and the president are trying to stop them also because they don't want the terrorist attack to go off on U.S. soil. So why did she help Bierko if she was on Henderson's side? So it doesn't make sense to
What?
me that she's helping Bierko in the middle of this when she answers to Henderson. You'd think Henderson would have said, "Hey, don't give them that information because we don't want a terrorist attack to go off on the soil." Right.
That's true. Yeah.
So it really doesn't make any sense. But I guess it was Colette Stinger that Henderson did call after he tried to kill Jack in episode 10. I'm pretty sure that had to have been Colette Stinger, because what other woman could that have been that we've seen him interact with, saying Jack Bauer's about to be dead? Anyway,
Yeah.
and especially because they find phone records that they had 8 phone calls. So anyway, Karen agrees to let Chloe and Jack find a connection between Colette Stinger and Henderson. Wayne Palmer gets the drop on Pierce, and then he identifies himself, and then he says he needs Pierce's help. And he has like a laser assault rifle.
Yeah, well, it's actually night vision, so we can see like pretty clearly in the night.
Got it. And Audrey's getting tortured, and she's dripping in sweat. When somebody's getting tortured on the show, they're dripping in sweat. What's happening?
all nerves. Just
Makes sense.
it does, especially like maybe it's. I always feel like it happens when they're putting whatever this thing is into them. So like whatever that chemical is must have a reaction of just dripping
Sodium
sweat.
pentothal.
Yeah.
So, so Audrey's getting tortured. Chloe finds 8 calls between Henderson and Colette, and that voids her immunity, so he can interrogate her. So he runs to her holding cell, Jack does. Goes in the cell, the marshal guarding her says the order hasn't been rescinded, and he's like, "You gotta go." And Jack, in one quick move, punches the dude in the face, knocks him out, takes the gun from that guy's holster, and keeps the gun trained on him as he slides down, knocked out. It looked so cool. It's freaking awesome. And then he is very. This whole thing is very intimidating for Colette, because you could see her visibly afraid of him at this entire interaction. So he says, "We know that you lied to us. Henderson said to use my name or use her name if you got in trouble, right?" And he's like, "You do not want to try me." She trembles as she shakes her head, saying yes. And he's like, "He's using you. He wanted to get inside my head. It worked. And now I'm upset."
I'm mad.
Dylan's been waiting to recite these. Go ahead, Dylan.
Oh, I'm
This is
telling you,
good.
this whole all 3 of these episodes are just littered with these amazing scenes. I love it. He says, "Yeah, it worked. And now I'm upset. You have 3 seconds to tell me who the target is, or I will kill you." And she says immediately, she does not let him even count to 1. He says, she says to the natural gas distribution center. He's like, "Which one?" She's like, "I don't know." Then he almost sadistically holds the gun in her face. And she's like, puts her head down, being like, "I don't know." Like, she would have said something if she knew. And he knows to believe. So he tells Bill where the target is. And then Bill says, "All right, the rescinding order will be there in 15 minutes. And he goes, "Good. Give it to the marshal. He'll be looking for this too." And gives Bill the marshal's gun.
I think that was the best.
So
that was the best part for me.
Well, what the best part for me was he said, "And now I'm upset."
I thought it was great too. The whole thing was great. Yeah, the whole thing was great.
Anybody not rewatching this along with us? I'm telling you,
Please watch that episode.
go back and watch at least 15 and rewatch this interaction. It's just so good. You know, on some of my shows, I go and edit clips in from the episode, and I don't do that on this just because it's really time consuming. And for this rewatch podcast that we're doing so many episodes, I don't want to go do that in a bunch of episodes. But if I did, this would definitely be a scene that I'd be editing.
No, I thought you were gonna say, but this like is the time that I would.
Not gonna
This
do
is the
it.
first time I'm
Because that's
gonna
going to
do
set
it,
a
yeah.
precedent, and then I'm going to feel like I need to do it later, so I don't want to do that. All right. Guys, editing these podcasts together is time-consuming, listeners at home.
I believe you.
So, anyway, Burke continues to interrogate Audrey, and she's screaming. And then Jack comes in and tells Burke to get out. Burke smartly listens to him. And then he takes the needles out, and he tells her that it's over. Henderson set her up. And then she says to him, Christina Vanderslice, she says, "The only thing that got me through this is that I knew you would come." And they finally smooch. Which you've
That's
been
They're
great.
back in it. They're back in it. They're back in it for the real thing.
You've been waiting for that smooch the whole season.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna do it a scene ahead of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he has a scene ahead of that. But yeah, I'm telling you, when she delivered this line, it touched me. Like I was just like, what's this salty discharge coming from my eyes? What's going on? So then I went to a doctor, and they said it was fine. You're just a crybaby. And I said, oh, okay, thank you, doctor. And he said that would be
Good to know.
$600. Thanks, Trump. Anyway, so I'm just joking. People, don't write me in. I know. So he has to go find the distribution center. Jack gets in a helicopter while Bill and Chloe try to figure out which distribution center. Sherry comes through in the clutch because she was a chem major at Caltech.
Which that was good though. That was pretty good.
What?
Way to use her.
Well, did you know that if you become a chem major, you can get hired as a government official? You don't have to or a government
analyst?
employee.
A
Yeah.
computer analyst.
Yeah.
Also, it makes sense she could be a chem major and then have gone to graduate school and done some. But why does she have to say at Caltech? Like, people don't typically. I don't think in the workplace people really go and brag about what school they went to or whatever. But anyway.
I think maybe in a job like that you would.
So I don't know if
Yeah.
you have the job. I don't think that you need to show your credentials. You've already been hired, so you don't need to say your education system every time you answer a question. Anyway, the PSI. Could you imagine like Chloe being like, "Oh, I can solve this," and then says her education every time before she did something. Anyway. Oh, and by the way, I have to say, to pause this in the middle of this, Justin, by now, the whole not liking Chloe thing, that has to be completely out the window.
Gone out the window.
It's not that.
Completely evaporated.
Look, it's not at this point. Like, it's not like I don't like her character. I don't like the way she delivers the lines. Like, I don't like the character, and like I think like that's okay though. Like, it's okay that I don't like this character.
Okay. But you understand what I'm saying? How like at this point, like it's like we're full blown in her being the fan favorite character of the show.
Yeah, I mean, like I can see. I guess I could see like why people like it. It's just not for me.
Can you see my Tyrion comparison now? Because when I first answered that question, I know that to you it seemed like I was speaking another language.
No, I mean, it's still like no, that's like too far out there for me.
You understand how she's the Tyrion of the show?
No, I don't think so at all. You gotta draw it like she like no. She can't. She's not delivering. She's not delivering lines that make people say "fuck." Like that's not what she's doing.
She says lines often that some of the favorite lines of the show people absolutely.
Every time you guys say a line that she says, you like giggle.
Yeah.
Like it's always like a laughable
Tyrion's
one.
Comic relief of the Game of Thrones. What are you talking about? He
I
says
think
his
Bronn
famous
is
line,
comic relief
his
of
most
Game of
famous
Thrones.
line, his most famous line.
That's what I do. I drink and I know
is
things.
I drink
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I know
I know.
things.
But that's not his most. That's not what his character is known for. His character is known for his court scene when he's like on the stand.
I disagree.
But I'm
I
saying,
disagree.
but Chloe has.
I disagree.
Chloe, an episode or two ago, was crying because of Edgar's death, and she was doing some phenomenal dramatic chops. But she's still the comic relief.
Is known for his comic relief because I listened to this other podcast about the show, and it's like, oh, finally Tyrion's funny this episode because he hasn't been as funny.
Yeah,
because that's what he is known for.
I guess I'm just watching these shows differently than you guys are, but I don't see either of those.
Okay, well, we just get in this freaking hamster wheel of a conversation every freaking week, so we'll move along.
Yeah, I think
we'll pick it up next
Dylan,
week.
I think we really hope one time that
I promise you both that if there is a time where Chloe does something, I'm like, okay, that's great. I will be sure to tell you.
You've already shown that you won't give credit when credit's due. So I
don't. There's been times throughout this podcast where I've said that was fine or that was okay. Or
we're running the hamster
that,
wheel, guys. We'll continue this conversation next week, I'm sure, guys. I'm sure people have done the fast forward 15 seconds a bunch of times. Okay, so she said the PSI meter must be lowered for the gas to go in. Good work, Sherry. And then she said, "Do you see how his hand brushed across my shoulder? That wasn't right." And Chloe's like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, Chloe's like, "Who's this crazy?" Yeah, you know.
So Wayne Palmer and Pierce are engaged in the pursuers in a firefight, and Pierce gets them away, and it looks like somehow Wayne Palmer's knocked out, but I don't understand how he was knocked out in a firefight without getting hit by a bullet. Anyway, Jack arrives at the plant via chopper, and they're almost ready to distribute it. And what did you think of that Jack Curtis double kill? You know what I'm talking about?
It's double kill.
You guys know what I'm talking about? When
Yeah.
they're both behind cover and they both pop up and they shoot two different people at the same time.
Pop.
Just pop. Yeah, at the same time. I thought that was pretty. Anyway,
They're working well together.
Jack gets 3 kills here at the plant. And they roll in, start capping. Bierko triggers the canisters. Jack says they can put C4 and blow up all the tanks before it goes into distribution. So they put it on quickly. Bierko runs away. And Jack triggers the C4 with 30-second timer, and they evac. Jack narrowly escapes with explosions very close behind him. That was pretty good, right? Like how close.
Cool guys don't look at explosions.
Yes, they don't. And you saw clearly that there was no stuntman. That was actually Kiefer Sutherland running with explosions behind him. Really close. I think it's deceptively farther than the camera. Shallow focus probably makes it look like it's a lot closer, but it was still close enough. Like he was in a dangerous situation, just running and being a cool guy, not looking at it. And then Jack finds Bierko and wrestles him into a cop car, and the plant explodes around him, and it's kind of a cheesy cut and the end of that episode. I would just, Bierko! Oh, we're in the car! Beep, 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 beep! In the middle of explosions. I thought it was pretty cheesy. But you don't have to wait a week. You were able to skip right to the next episode, which is 5/16. That aired on April 4th, 2006. It is from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. So at first they can't find Jack, but of course he's okay. Also, do you remember that he got a broken rib in like the 5th episode?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a broken rib this whole time. Anyway, also think about how long ago Derek and Diane came.
Oh my gosh, what happened to them? Jack's over here making out with another girl.
I even told you that. Yeah, he is already making out with another girl. I told you whenever you see them again, you're like, yeah, right. And I was like, no, I'm actually not lying. You won't see
Still don't believe you.
So Bierko's knocked out, and the nerve gas threat is over. Hooray! And he's under arrest. And Jack calls Bill and says Henderson needs to be a priority. He says, I know he thinks that he was doing what's right for the country. He's a patriot. He's a soldier. He has to be working for somebody very powerful. And he says, Bill, I'm scared, which we've never heard Jack say.
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
I didn't even. But the way
what
he
if Bill
said
was
it,
like,
though,
oh, does Jackie need his baba? I'm just kidding,
that's
Jack.
kind
No
of how
problem.
it felt, though. The way he said it, I was like, Jack,
So,
not like you, dog.
So he says he's working for somebody very powerful, and then immediately cuts to the vice president. And when he talks to Karen is actually defending CTU. At this point, let me ask you this: what do you guys think of Karen Hayes?
I think she's an okay character. Like, I think she's not like overdoing it by any means.
What do you think, K-Slice?
Had some connection
Yeah.
to this call.
I mean,
Hold on,
I
Christina.
agree. I don't
Wait,
think
Christina.
that she's not so. Well, I mean, I don't.
Oh shit.
Been some
Hello?
connection
Okay,
issues
Christina,
today.
start over.
I'm so sorry. Did that happen again?
Yeah, it did. And it's
I don't know
really
what to
weird when it
do.
happens. It's really fucking weird.
Is
when
it
happens.
creepy?
It's creepy. But anyway, continue. What were you gonna say? What was your answer?
I'm so sorry. I'm with Justin. I don't have much to think about her. Other than, like, I think she's fine. She's not bothering me. I don't think she's overacting. I wonder if there's something more going on with her. But I wonder if we'll ever really get a whole lot more from her character, because I feel like we're wrapping up. I mean, we only have 8 episodes left. They're not gonna have time to go
That's a lot of
into.
time.
Yeah,
This season
but
of Game of Thrones is only 7 episodes.
don't get me started on that. I
This is an
also
8 episodes,
curious,
7.
8 left. This season
8
7,
episodes of,
yeah.
of 24 left after this.
I was talking about 24. Yeah, I got myself confused there.
I was talking about Game of Thrones.
7
There's
episodes.
only 7 episodes,
Anyway.
and the next one's only 6.
We're
so
talking about
that's
Game
sad.
of Thrones a lot in this.
Mhm. What I am curious about, so this is but it's not really, it's neither here nor there with what we're talking about, but which of these characters that we're meeting this season will I see again? I'm curious if we're gonna really expand on these people, or if I'm just gonna get new people almost every season. So that's something I'm a
Guys,
little interested in.
Christina is watching the show the way I was at the time. By this point, I was exactly thinking like that. I'm like, okay, they've given us Bill before, and they made us not like him at first, and Tony, they made us not like him at first. Which ones are going to be cool? Which ones are going to, that's what they did with Lynn for a minute, and then they made him be bad again or whatever. And also, you're speaking the language of the show with the twist of Hal Gardner. I was shocked how well you called that, Christina, because you're speaking the show's language very well. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
You're so impressive, Christina.
Now, imagine if you had weeks in between these, and you had speculation,
and I really had time to mull it over,
and you had the trailers to watch, and you had like the news articles to read at the time.
Yeah, because you should see how much I get down on Game of Thrones in between each episode. So you're right.
now, let me say this. Let me just give some perspective for you guys. What's going on right now with me revisiting the show and doing this podcast with you guys? It's just like what would be happening. You guys have friends that don't watch Game of Thrones, right? And I'm sorry that we keep talking about Game of Thrones. You guys have friends that don't watch Game of Thrones, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you not think they are insane?
Crazy.
You absolutely.
How do you
mental
in this
ill
world?
And then they say something like, "I just didn't like fantasy shows," and I'm like, "Do you think we like fantasy shows? We're not into freaking fantasy. You think I watch Merlin or something like that? Do you think
you're getting?
You know, I'm just like, mind boggled by it, right? So anyway, imagine 10 years from now, when Justin, I think you'll be 21 by then.
Yeah, 22.
22 in 10 years. You're going to be, Justin will be in your 30s, and you're doing podcasts, and you're like, you know what? I want to rewatch Game of Thrones and do a podcast with a person, and this person has never seen it, and you're going to be just doing a podcast with them. That's exactly like what's going on right now with me. It was my absolute favorite show at the time. I was completely obsessed, as I've said many times. But 10 years later, and you're watching it with new people, and it's fun. This is incredible for me because it really is like I'm re-experiencing the show because I'm getting it through your guys' eyes. So it's been awesome. But that's kind of like how. Does that make sense to you guys? Like how that would be. And then Justin, it would be like somebody you're doing with this fucking little kid, this child that you're recording with. It's just like, I don't like Tyrion. I don't like Tyrion. He sucks. He's an idiot. He sucks. And you're like, what are you talking about? Everybody loves Tyrion. Let's
move on.
All right. Hamster wheel conversation. We're gonna get back to it. Okay.
I just heard the funny sound that you guys have been talking about. When you said everyone loves Tyrion, Dylan, on my end, it was, what are you talking about? Everybody loves Tyrion. Like, it was like over and over. This is weird. Yeah, anyways, let's move on.
All right.
So just so you know.
So anyway, the reason I was saying is, don't we notice that Karen is actually, she was defending CTU. She was talking to the vice president and to Miles and saying, actually, they've done a hell of a job. They did save a lot of people today. And then she also says Bill's going to be able to build a strong case to stay in power because he's done a really good job. And then Miles starts plotting against him. I mean, what if I could get Audrey, who I was just arguing for her torture a half fucking hour ago? Anyway, so he thinks Audrey will betray Bill, which is insane, right? Right? Maybe not. Bill thinks the vice president is trying to shut them down. Pierce sneaks Wayne into the presidential retreat, and Wayne says that David had some source inside the White House, and it's Evelyn Martin, which is Martha's chief of staff, and he thinks that she gave Palmer the info that potentially got him. Then we see Evelyn saying bye to Martha. And Martha's acting like the day's done. She was like, "Oh man, today was a big day. I'm glad it's over." And it's kind of like, "No, it's not. It's not over."
Yeah,
Martha Lowe.
Exactly.
Marlo. That's her like J-Lo name, Marlo. All right,
makes sense.
Alrighty. So Wayne catches her in the hallway and he asks her about the emails. What about her emails? Her emails.
Good one.
She plays dumb. And Wayne knows. He's like, don't lie to me, please. He's like, stop lying. I know that you contacted my brother, and I know that blah, blah, blah. And she said they kidnapped my daughter. Was that a surprise for you? Obviously, a surprise. You didn't know that, but that was pretty.
I said that, so.
That was a pretty, good development, right?
Yeah, believable.
It was just, like, messed up, though, too. Like, especially because this guy let his wife get shot. Like, he won't tell what's going on, and like I think that's to Jack's point. Like he's deep in this. This is serious to him. He's gonna kidnap a little girl. Yeah. Like he used to be a CTU agent. Yeah. He used to be a good person.
But he thinks he's doing this again for
the right reasons.
The right reasons, right?
Yeah, but that's so crazy.
I know.
Because then he's like, when they say like, "What about her daughter?" I'll take care of her. Like, of course they made you think he was gonna like he's a creep or something when he actually did just take care of her and give her back. But like. Yeah, the guy, I don't know, it's just interesting.
Think about this. At the end of the first episode, he killed the actual assassin of it, right? Like imagine, like remember I was saying like how happy I was that wasn't drawn out forever. And at the time you're thinking he's really getting to the top of this assassination attempt. And look, we're 16 episodes in, and he's not even. We just now scratched the surface of who is actually responsible.
Yeah,
It's pretty interesting. Anyway, so anyway, she has evidence, and she said that they'll give her daughter back if she turns over the evidence. And she's like, dude, they're still going to kill you. And Aaron Pierce is like, yeah, you know too much. They're not going to just let you go. And she's like, I'll give you the evidence if you give me back my daughter. That was a trailer line. That was a line in the trailer for this episode. By the way, it was a big reveal. I'll give you the evidence if you give me back my daughter. We were like, what? On next week's 24. And we're like, yay. And then we waited a week until next Monday at 6 p.m., 9 p.m. Central. Homeland Security starts taking over CTU. Actually, new people come in, and they're like evil versions of each person. Like the person that's replacing Chloe is a woman. The person replacing, like, it's just funny that they have like different versions of people, like Homeland Security versions of them. Also, it just does not make sense why they're doing this. And they're also doing this at 10 p.m. It's just weird that they're doing this.
So weird, yeah.
It doesn't really ever explain to us why, other than Miles' Weasley ass.
Vendetta, whatever's going on with him.
So then Karen Hayes comes out and she goes, I wrote down what she said. She said she's authorized a unit-wide / protocol.
Yeah.
The fuck does that mean?
Yeah, they had to try and make
a unit-wide / protocol.
I haven't, but I haven't had a job of as much importance. That makes sense. But yeah. Sometimes you have to authorize a unit-wide / protocol.
Yeah,
I just feel like they were looking at a keyboard and trying to come up with things. Anyway, Chloe's station is taken over. Miles calls Audrey into the situation room and tells her to sign a statement, putting all the blame on Bill. And he says, sign it or this will all go down on her too, and this could ruin your career. She's talking to the daughter of the Secretary of Defense, saying that your career is going to get ruined because of this Weasley shit I'm doing. And he has a stupid, smug smile on his face, too. Like, he's not a real person. He's a cartoon. And then she takes a second, and she's like, I'm proud of the work CTU has done. And basically says, stick it up your ass. And Wayne calls Jack, who immediately tells him, he's like, hey, I wish I could tell you that everyone responsible for the death of your brother's dead, but I don't know if I could tell you that. And he goes, well, I got some information for you. And he's like, oh, what do you got? And he explains the situation. Jack's immediately in. Jack calls Audrey, and they're going to have a problem providing satellite cover because Chloe's been let go, and CTU is getting taken over. And it seems to be the vice president's doing, making them all collectively think this is the vice president. And so they're dead in the water without satellite coverage. So Audrey says she'll think of something. She immediately goes to Mile and Karen Hayes and says she'll sign the paper as long as Chloe is kept on. And she signed to her. And notice that she's doing all this a half hour after her torture. She reapplied her makeup as well. And she looks absolutely
hair's looking good.
No longer dripping with sweat.
Right. So Aaron Pierce is uncomfortable sending Wayne and Evelyn alone, but they can't arouse suspicion, they said. And they run into the vice president in the hallway. And they really dig into this vice president being the bad guy thread. And how because he's asking all these questions. Hal says Palmer was one of the greatest men to ever occupy the office, and his loss can't be expressed. Now, at this point, we're thinking he's the bad guy, so we're like, you son of a bitch, while we're hearing him say it. And when I'm watching this and saying it, I'm like, wow, he's actually giving some genuine statements. Especially, it's a person from the opposite party also, which is amazing to see him say such things. Bill tells Chloe he's going to fight the absorbing from Homeland Security. And Miles tells Chloe she's kept on, but he says it begrudgingly. He's like, "Don't worry, Chloe, you're being kept on." And then he gets a big smile on his face, telling Bill that he's hosed. Why are you so hell bent on screwing these people over? What is wrong with you? He sits there smiling, telling him that he's screwing him over, and putting his head down, saying that Chloe's job is kept. He's like so overt with it. It's just, again, not a real person at all. Terribly written character, awful force on the show. Just trying to make us have a character to dislike. You can do that with still having them being a real person. Like Logan. I thought Logan's always been a real person, even though he's been a character.
Yeah.
Like, pretty much from.
Yes.
You agree with me, Justin?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Cool. I agree, definitely.
Audrey tells Bill to his face that she screwed him over. And then we see later him look at her and says nothing to her on the way out. Because he's like, you've ruined all chances of us keeping our jobs. And she goes, it's the truth. Because she has to... I don't know why. Honestly, I don't know why she doesn't tell... It's like...
Yeah, why isn't she just... Especially at that moment when he glances at her.
Stop.
Then they're by themselves.
Stop, Christina.
So she can kind of like...
Stop.
So annoying.
Okay, sorry. Restate what you were saying.
Was it me again?
Yeah,
I don't know what to tell you. Let me go to my...
No, it's okay.
It's annoying.
We're almost done. I'll tell you to stop when it happens.
So I was saying that, like, especially at that point, because it's then, like, before I got, she couldn't say anything because that guy, whatever douchebag was there, Miles, and so now she could kind of go up to him and be like, but this is what's really going down.
It did seem,
and
while
still
he was on his way out, she was talking to Jack on the phone, and it seems like she was trying to make eye contact with him to tell him something, and then he just walks out pissed off at her. And then she's like, all right, whatever, he'll understand later. Like, I'll
but I wonder how they're gonna, I mean, I'm sure they're gonna figure it out, but, like, how's she gonna make up for this? Like, how are they gonna, I don't know.
Right.
Like, how's it gonna work out?
But she did it because that was her only way to be able to, obviously.
Right, obviously,
keep Chloe on. So, anyway, Evelyn knows Palmer was killed because of the info she gave him, and Wayne absolves her of it. He's like, this is not your fault. I think it's not her fault. She was trying to do... I think she was like, look, this is the most powerful person I can get this information to. And they never think they would actually kill the ex-president. Anyway, they call. Henderson asks why Wayne was at the compound. She's like, I didn't even know he was there. And he's like, you better not be lying to me. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea. Jack calls Audrey and says they need the satellite cover. And Chloe doesn't want to speak to Audrey at first because she's pissed about the Bill thing. Then she explains why she did what she did, and they need to retest the satellite, and she goes along. Wayne waits at this barn for Jack, and Jack stealthily creeps through the back door. You notice that Wayne was looking at the front door, and Jack just shows up in the back door? They always just show Jack being slick like that, and I love it. I just love it. And he, again, I know I say it a lot. I always say who gets the drop on who in every scene, because that always happens on the show. But he gets the drop on Wayne. And then he introduced himself to Evelyn, and he's like, look, you got to tell us the information. She was like, no, I'm not giving you the information until they save my daughter. And, Jack's like, we're not under a terrorist threat right now, ticking time bomb, so sure, fine. Like, that's fair enough. This is reasonable enough. So Jack tells Wayne to stay back there, and Wayne says he's coming. And he says he was a Marine. Jack's like, I know you were, but you never saw combat, and your family needs you now. And in a very touching, I felt this in this scene when, like, he's like about to walk away, and he's like, these people killed my brother, Jack. And Jack stops in his tracks, and he said, they shot a bolt right through his neck, and he died in my arm. You gotta, like, would you be able to walk away from that? And Jack, what did you think of this?
Yeah.
Do you like how they continue? They have not swept under the rug Palmer's death at all in this show. The way they've even done it about Tony's.
Oh yeah. Yeah, actually, I'm really surprised that Jack... I know Jack's a professional, but that was his, like... I mean, as close as friends can be to family, I feel like, was Tony and Michelle, so that's pretty interesting that it has just kind of moved right along. But I am happy that Palmer's getting plenty of conversation surrounded around his name this season, because I know this is the last time that we're really going to get anything with them or him, so that's good. And I thought the scene was great. I think it's so true, and I think Jack completely relates to how he's feeling with everything that's happened to Jack. I mean, he's lost people in his life. He's technically kind of lost his daughter right now through all the things that have been going on, and so it's just kind of like, I think he gets it. And at the end of the day, it's good he was there, because he needed that. He needed somebody to have his back, Hey, did you lose me?
Yeah, just the last second. Could you just repeat the
somebody? This sucks. He just needed somebody, because he needed somebody there to have his back.
Do you want to disconnect from your Wi-Fi and just try to go?
Yeah, I'll do it really quick. What is going on? I'm calling freaking Time Warner tonight. Okay, I'm on 4G now.
Okay, I'll try to continue and see if
I'm so sorry.
Okay, so So Logan is glowing about all the congratulatory calls he's getting, and Gardner says Wayne was at the compound. And we initially think Gardner's being suspicious, but upon rewatch, Logan keeps trying to end the conversation. He's trying to weasel out of the conversation. He's like, oh, then it must be for this. Oh, he must not have wanted to talk to me because, you know, I had maybe he holds ill will toward me because, you know, we have a bad history with the Palmers. Logan is pissed off about that, about him being there and trying to get out of the conversation with Al Gardner. Jack arrives at the meeting point, and Evelyn seems to have cold feet. And Jack's like, well, hey, you and your daughter are going to die if you don't do what I say. Which is cold-blooded, but true. Chloe provides satellite cover while they go in. Jack sneaks up behind a dude and grabs him by the neck and shoots him in the back twice. And you see the 2 bullets come out the front. That was a pretty badass little, what's it called? Silencer kill. An assassination. And then Jack asks Wayne to take out a guard while he climbs up to take down a sniper. And Wayne Palmer gets somebody in his sight, and he's trembling as the guy turns around, and he hesitates, but then he does it as soon as the guy turns around. Didn't it make it seem like he was going to choke?
Yeah.
But he didn't. He iced the dude.
He didn't. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's good he was there at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah. He ended up being useful. There. Jack gets the sniper and cuts his throat.
See, Jack doesn't hesitate, though.
And then, he does not. And then he hasn't done it 118 times. Yeah. And then he quickly messes with the radio to try to cause interference so he could respond to Henderson and distort the sound. And then they say the woman is alone in the car. I repeat, the woman is alone in the car. Henderson directs her, thinking that he has her surrounded. It's a pretty tense standoff, and she says she'll give the evidence as soon as they give them Amy. And then when he does, she forgets to duck down, which she's supposed to do immediately. As soon as she gets the...
Yeah.
And Jack's like, duck down. Anyway, she finally remembers, and then bullets start flying. He'll count +5 in total, including 2 people he killed before the tower, the sniper, and then he snipes 2 people from down below. Henderson runs one of his own guys over himself. And then gets away.
He didn't even.
Fucking dick.
So crazy. Yeah, he just doesn't care.
And then Jack runs after and tells Chloe to follow him on satellite. We can't lose him. She says it might be a problem doing that, so obviously they're not going to be able to follow satellite. Evelyn's been hit in the leg. Took a bullet.
Yeah.
And then Jack says, we'll get you a doctor. You got your daughter. You have to tell us who did this. Is it the vice president? Evelyn, is it the vice president? The vice president has nothing to do with this. What was going on in your head right then?
I was just waiting for the scene to cut. Cut to the scene. Cut to the scene. Show me. That's what I was thinking.
What about you, Justin?
Yeah, no, exactly the same.
I remember going.
Oh, shut up.
I remember going, oh my God, what is this? And then all of a sudden,
who is it? Show me who it is.
Camera cuts to Henderson calling his boss, and the camera so brilliantly pans around. This shot of it turning around him the way it does, it's beautiful and outstanding score by Sean Callery in the scene. One of the best reveals in the entire series, and we see that it's fucking Logan. And Henderson says, "I will not let you down, sir." And he said, "See that you don't." And you see him kind of twirling his his hand around or whatever, a little bit like that, like he's twirling a pen in his hand. And then afterward, just in case you weren't 100% sure, he turns his head and looks at the camera.
Yeah.
And then beep, 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 beep. So, what does this mean, guys? What does this mean that Logan is the big bad boss of the season?
I don't know.
Who knows at this point? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like he's such a pushover. What happened? Like, how did he get involved in things that are like, obviously, you know,
I think that's what I'm most curious about to happen. Like that.
Yeah,
like that's going forward. Like
into it.
And how is it going to work from here?
So also, we've seen him be a pushover, kind of, I guess. But think about like Martha trying to convince him to do stuff. He didn't. He stayed pat about decisions he made in front of Martha.
But I guess maybe not a pushover. Maybe pushover is not the right word. He's easily influenced, right? Like, so who influenced this decision? He couldn't have. I feel like he's not someone who's going to come up with like, oh, I'm going to, this. I don't know. I just feel like someone, if you were going to get in with the president and convince him to do something bad, he's the kind of person I think would fall for it for his own selfish reasons. Oh, if you do this, we'll make sure you have like safety in these regions for, you know what I mean? Like, he'll just have some, you can convince him to do something shady if he thinks he's at the end of the day saving his ass and making himself look good.
So you're like, speculating that this is kind of Pandora's box of kind of a shadow government or people in the government that are.
Yeah, that's a good prediction, Christina. I dig that.
Yeah.
Is that what you're basically saying?
I think Dylan made it sound cooler than I was saying and deeper, but yeah, I think you get me.
So what is it gonna? So CTU is taken over by Homeland Security, and Homeland Security answers directly to the executive branch. So the president is in charge of CTU, so they're obviously not gonna be able to actively against the president. So, maybe we'll see Jack going rogue in this. Maybe we'll see him teaming up.
I would say they're gonna go rogue. Jack needs to just open his own organization, like JBU or something, Jack Bauer Unit, like, and just have his own team.
JBU, got it.
Because every time it's like someone gets in his way or tries to stop him from doing his job, the man is doing the best job, and everyone tries to stop him from doing his job. So he just needs to go fly solo. I'll
say this: every episode, or especially block of 2 episodes, are amazing moving forward. The last half of the season is even better than the first half of the season. And this is peak TV right here. It's like, for me, where this show just got, it's peak. You cannot be better than this on TV. This is like when we get to the really great parts of Game of Thrones. I know that keeps getting brought up. Or the really great parts of Lost, or really great parts of Breaking Bad. You get as good as this is right here, at least for me. And upon rewatch, of course, I'm critical of a lot of things. I'm talking about how terrible of a character Miles is written, and how terrible for a character Sherry is written. Not Sherry Palmer, but Sherry Levinstein or Bruni, not Kate Mara's character.
Yeah.
But as far as drama goes, for a show that we've had 5 seasons on, and the first season didn't even involve the president, but it involved the presidential candidate, and it involved Jack Bauer growing a bond with this character that we understood. Then moving on to the second and third season, that we always had an ally in the White House. Then the 4th season, we had a character. It wasn't necessarily a White House, but he was neutral. Logan kind of came on, and sometimes he was actively against, but he wasn't necessarily completely working against him, right? He was just incompetent, seemingly, at certain times. Now we have something completely opposite of anything we see, where it's a complete enemy. The number one enemy for Jack Bauer is the president. So it's a story that's never been told, and 5 seasons into a show that has 24 episodes in each, it's exhilarating that they're able to find new ideas and new concept and new scenarios. And this is an extremely exciting time for me in the podcast. So I just
well, I look forward to the rest of the season. I mean, it's been great. So if it's only going to get better from here, let's do it.
Anything else we want to say, or are we ready to wrap it up before we zap it up?
Dude, we should wrap this up before we zap it up. And anybody who's still listening at this length, I applaud you.
We lost most of the people, but I think we've had latency issues also. So I think that's why we haven't.
I'm sorry, people.
This is definitely by far the longest episode of Legacy of 24, and I knew from the beginning that it was going to be.
I knew it was too.
Yeah, we all kind of knew, which is why we started.
Texted today. I was like, "Yeah, this is gonna be a long one."
This is gonna be. There was a lot to discuss. So that's another reason I kind of wish that we did 13 and 14 together. But it's behind us now, and 2-episode chunks. I'm so excited, and I'm really excited for the next 2 episodes. I cannot wait to talk to you guys about them. So, and I'm excited.
So Justin, take your notes.
Okay, I'll take some mental notes.
Yeah, his notes have been amazing so far. I don't know what I thought.
I'll be sure to really think about the next one.
Yeah.
I'm
glad 50 episodes into this podcast that you decided
you're gonna really think about it.
So all right. Why don't you tell? And I just can't believe that it's something I can discuss with you guys, that Charles Logan is a bad guy. Like, it's just so fun that we're finally there. I can't believe.
Yeah, it must be so hard for you. I would spill the beans so many times.
I mean,
beans would be spilling everywhere.
Yeah, that's that's no fun if I do, though. Like the real fun is.
Yeah, but you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job. That's what I'm trying to say.
Appreciate that. We still got 3 seasons to go after this. We still have plenty of seasons after this. But doesn't it feel like we just started this like Recently, it's been over a year. It's been over a year that we've been doing this now. Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, no.
I never thought we'd get here doing 2 episodes at a time. Anyway, Justin, why don't you tell people where they can follow you?
I'm on the internet under @Justin B. Moreno on Twitter and Instagram.
Christina, where can people follow you?
@K. Underscore Vanessa on. Almost made it. We almost made it out of here. We almost made it out of here alive.
Gosh.
What's wrong with her? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
@K_Vanessa on Twitter and @KVanessa on Instagram.
And if during this long episode, Christina ever sounded choppy or anything like that, sorry, we just had some issues this week. But it will be better next week, right, Christina?
Blame Time Warner. Blame Time Warner.
I do want to say also, shout out to Netbug in the chat that said, because he actually was just rushing to finish the episode before we started streaming this, and so he kind of came 20 minutes late into it. But he said, I just finished the episode, loved that reveal. I couldn't really remember if he was behind everything, but I thought he was. So this person, Netbug, you're really experiencing this show along with us like that. So that's awesome. And to think that people are actually watching the show along with us, which we do get tweets from people pretty often saying that they are. They're like, oh, I haven't watched that episode yet. Which is awesome. Which is awesome to think that there's just a huge group of people, hundreds of people together watching the show together week by week. I think it's pretty fantastic. I couldn't have
maybe the last one we'll just live stream all together and enjoy ourselves.
Hey,
the very last.
We definitely are gonna do reaction videos again for a certain episode. We'll see. Maybe another premiere in a season. Anyway, for me, you can follow me at Shuckster. That's SCHUCKSTER. This week we're on the Watch and Talk. We're doing a movie called The Glass Castle, and I'm going to try to do Annabelle Creation on a bonus episode. So if you haven't seen these movies, you can hear our reviews because we do a lot of conversation about TV and film before it, like a fun top 5 list, and then we do a non-spoiler review of the movie, so you can listen to it if you haven't seen it. And then there's a spoiler section at the end, so if you have seen the movie, there's more to listen to it, and you can check that out at thewatchandtalk.com or just searching The Watch and Talk in your podcast app. Upcoming here in about 3 weeks, new podcast we're launching. It's called The Deuce Drop.
Oh, you're doing a podcast on The Deuce Drop?
Doing a podcast on The Deuce.
Oh, dude, I want to watch The Deuce.
The Deuce looks pretty good. It's a new show on HBO. It's coming on after... I'm sorry to keep bringing up Game of Thrones, but it's coming on after Game of Thrones is over. But the podcast... so when we're going over names for it, everything you did with The Deuce sounds like poop. So we decided. So
then putting the drop on it just really.
Yeah. So we were like, you know what? We might as well just embrace it because anything we do, the Deuce Talk, the Deuce Pod, the Deuce Cast, anything we did made it sound like. So we said the Deuce Drop. We might as well just embrace it and run with it because anything with Deuce sounds like poop. But anyway, so be on the lookout for that. That's going to be happening in a couple weeks, and that's going to be a fun podcast for us to be discussing because that show looks pretty good. For the show, you can follow us at Legacy24. You can email us at legacy24@gmail.com. Let us know what you guys are thinking when you guys are watching these episodes. We'll read it. If you want to write us a review, Christina will read it in her beautiful angelic voice too. And tweet us at Legacy24 and all that kind of stuff. Our Facebook at facebook.com/thewatchandtalk. And that's it. I'm Dylan Chuck.
I'm Jess Marino.
And I'm Christina Madison.
Do that again,
oh my gosh, I hate this. I'm Christina Vanessa. And I'm Christina Vanessa.
Oh God. Oh my God.
Someone else say it for me.
And she's Christina Vanessa.
And we'll see you next week.